So we're two huge Rush fans, and we've got tickets to see the band live for the first time next year as part of their 50-something tour, and in the lead-up we're doing this little series called Road to Rush, where we review every single Rush album, one per week. This time it was the turn of the band's 1996 studio album, Test for Echo. Let me start this one off by saying that this one was so bland that there is no need to review it. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe. What did you think of Test for Echo?
To be fair, I had the idea that this sort of brought the 90s back and a bit more of original Rush aesthetics.
So this was a return to form for you?
Yeah,
you weren't, last week I loved Counterparts, you weren't a huge fan. This one felt more a return to form.
So besides, obviously, the title track, Test for Echo, being a bit of a masterpiece, which actually really sort of rekindled a lot of love from the past time, there was a bit of noise, and then towards the end of the album, it took us back home again.
Yeah.
And I felt like this is what I listened to Rush for.
Yeah.
You know?
So for me, I liked how the title track just kicked straight off with the singing straight away. That was a nice surprise. You know, with a lot of Rush albums, there's a lot of preamble, isn't there, before we get going. There's a lot of leading. The past few albums, they've had kind of samples, haven't they? They've had kind of some world percussion or something to kick us off. This one, we were just straight in there with some ballsy Rush and a really great title track. I think the title track was my favourite. Like I said to you earlier before the cameras were rolling, this was probably the first Rush album where on my first listen I didn't look up once. There were no bits that jumped out at me as being really complicated, really difficult, really technical, that made me suddenly go, whoa, what are we listening to?
Well, I think after, obviously, reading a lot of Peart's books and so on, the Test for Echo tour was sort of during the prime of a lot of this, and this is where his reinvention of the drums came from. So his playing is completely different to the previous albums in the sense of you can hear he's trying to hit this completely different note. He's not just driving like in the last 80s sound. He's not just trying to be a new metal drummer. He's putting these Latino and jazz influences in there.
So this is when he was working with that Freddie Gruber, that jazz drum tutor.
Yeah.
Is that about right? In the you are the Neil Peart expert.
Yeah,
from
yeah.
This point of his life
and he just had old Culber here.
Yeah.
Showing him the way forward. Yeah.
It was nice to hear an Oasis cover, track 3, Half the World Away. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that.
I wasn't expecting it at all. Just as I wasn't expecting the samples from the Monster Mash, by Bobby Pickett coming in. But the thing is, the samples from the Monster Mash and this were cleaner than they were from the original track.
Yeah, it's weird that, isn't it? What did you think of the instrumental, Limbo?
Well, obviously that's where my attention was caught with these samples and so on. It was just after. And to be fair, the end of this album is what made it compared to the beginning. And we've always said like the first couple of tracks, the last few Rush albums have been excellent, and it sort of petered off towards the ending. But for me, Limbo was a very integral part of a clean finish to the album. You know?
Yeah. I was not a big fan of this one, I'll be honest. You know, I was just sort of reading about Rush anyway. You know, when the 50-something tour kicked off, there was a bunch of renewed interest, wasn't there, in Rush? There were loads of those sites that do all those list rankings. There were suddenly a bunch of lists about Rush. And one of the things I remembered about their Test for Echo album was that this Test for Echo always came near the bottom in all these online rankings that I read. You know, when they ranked every single Rush album. But
just as I say, we're doing so much reading and research. It's a key thing that's mentioned. It's a proper pivotal point in Neil Peart's life, where I've sort of probably paid a bit more attention to it, than you. But after, as I say, the end of the album, from Dog Years onwards, it started to sound like 80s Rush again.
Yeah.
It started to sound a bit more like home. That's sort of where I go, I'd listen to this again and I will do it again.
Yeah.
I feel at this point here, they've got to the point where they're not just old blokes trying to be in a young man's game.
Yeah.
They've made their own way, their own groove in this sort of new 90s world.
Yeah.
But then everything.
And the title track of Test Record got to #1 in America. That's pretty good going, isn't it?
Some of the counter beats in there, absolutely.
Yeah. What are you giving it out of 10?
Good, solid, firm 6.
I'm going to say exactly the same.
But I liked it more than you.
Yeah, it's getting a 6 out of 10 only because I respect Peter Collins' production. I think it sounded fantastic.
Peter Collins.
The drums sounded fantastic, the guitar tones were excellent.
So the ballad track, Virtuality, was probably one of the best ballad ones I've heard so far.
Yeah.
Because of how big and integral the noise got towards the end of the chorus.
Yeah. What did you think of Test for Echo? Let us know in the comments below. We'll be back into the 2000s for one of the only Rush albums where I was born when it was made, with Vapor Trails from 2002. Thanks for watching.
Very conspiracy.